Jeff Parks from Kina'ole, a Canadian service design company.
Yep.
And Jeff Parks just had a talk in User Experience Poland conference on accountability in design.
Yes.
So my first question to you, Jeff, is why you decided to touch this subject when all the others will talk about getting dirty, grabbing markets, and designing stuff and making mess and being childish and creative.
Yeah.
So why accountability?
Well, I framed accountability in the context of not the result, like you were describing, like all the paper prototyping and building of the apps and the technology, but I framed it as I thought that we needed to move the conversation beyond the result and more towards about understanding it as an intrinsic characteristic. So in other words, more about understanding how we are being and how we're being perceived by business leaders, by academics, by engineers, basically disciplines that date back to the time of Socrates and Plato. Mm-hmm. And the user experience designer has evolved or come forward as the result of the internet, as a result of technologies. But it's only been the last 10 to 15 years that we've been involved in these processes with all of these people. Mm-hmm. And so my argument was that we needed to start looking at the need to continue to legitimize the discipline itself in the eyes of those traditional business, academia, and engineers, that we needed to have the courage to challenge current trends. We need to be better at facilitating understanding, and we need to take responsibility for our own actions to ensure the level of professionalism is always at the very highest expectation of the people we work with every day.
Yeah, thanks. And you used the word human very often. Human. You emphasize that we should focus on humans, not technology. That the computers and technology is just a bunch of wires and nothing more if we want to use it consciously. Yeah. And there's also a term that was introduced to the market quite lately. It's human experience.
Yes.
So we just didn't get used to using the last one, the user experience word term, and now we get new one. Why? Why so? Why do you use human experience? Why are we part of human experience conference and not user experience? Is it not enough?
Well, I think it's a matter of some may see it as a debate of semantics, one word versus the other. But again, I think it comes down to perception. The word user is becoming almost synonymous with the machines we're designing for. We need to get the focus back to the humans. There's an author I really like, John Thackara, who wrote a book called In the Bubble, Designing in a Complex World. And he talked about this almost mindless shift towards technology. It's happening so fast and overwhelming the way we interact with each other or don't interact with each other. He calls it the Borg shift, about how we're moving towards this sort of mechanic-like state with the interactions, not only with the technologies, but more importantly, with one another. And so I think moving the term from user experience to human experience is to bring people back to the fact that we are designing for humans. Designing for technology at its core is really quite simple. When you want an app to do something, there are brilliant developers out there that can make it do literally anything.
On the coding level.
On a coding level, right? And there's really, it's like Richard Seymour said a few years ago, he said, we need to move the conversation from what we could be doing to what we should be doing. And when we're designing for other human beings, we need to understand that whatever we design, for example, I don't think the makers of Twitter ever thought beyond the viral implications of what might happen to humanity. Sure, it's a way to connect with other people, it's a way to share ideas, but it's only 140 characters. I don't think they would have seen it as a main tool for organizing revolutions in Egypt. I don't think they would have seen it as a main tool for a cause of great depression amongst teens and other people as a result of becoming so obsessed with the technology and self all of the time that really has become social media. So I think moving the term away from user and towards human allows us to keep the focus on the fact that what we're doing, we are accountable and a results perspective for what we're building, but we also need, again, to look at accountability as how we're guiding conversations and how that intrinsic characteristic is going to help businesses make smarter decisions that will help people even beyond the bottom line in terms of a return on investment.
Okay. And you mentioned that to stay accountable, we should rather question experts and create, elaborate, look for answers, ask questions rather than just follow them and blindly copy what they say, what speakers, what lecturers say. So, what about this, and how to create a creative atmosphere, creative environment at a company, like three steps?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, I think that the point that I was making in my talk was that we can't just blindly follow the top 20 people that speak at most UX design conferences. They are the senior leaders that have brought us to this point. We owe them a debt of gratitude that we can't repay in many respects. Because of them, we were able to be where we are today. It's because of the Eric Rices, the Jared Spools, the Lou Rosenfelds, the Peter Morvilles, the Jesse James Garretts that I'm able to sit here and talk to you and share ideas with an amazing group of people in a culture that is Poland. But we also need to keep in mind that, you know, they are one group of people with a certain amount of experience. But again, as I said in the talk, over the last few years, because I've taken so much time to learn from all these people over the last 10 years, I've actually learned more from the junior designers that I've had the pleasure of mentoring over the last 3 years than I have from the thought leaders in the field. No disrespect to the thought leaders in the field. Rather, I think that all designers should look at that as an opportunity to learn from one another. Regardless of whether you've spoken at a conference or whether you've written a book, it's just as important to continue that creative process. And within businesses, I think it's important to bring people together. Like in the workshops at Follow the UX Leader that I've been running for a few years now with Christina Mauser, it's about getting the decision makers in a company into a room and getting them to share their ideas and recognize that ultimately what they want to build, they're really not that far off. Mm-hmm. They're just arguing over terms or how they get to a desired end state without actually starting the conversation with the end in mind. What is the result we are trying to create? Can we agree on that? And what are the consequences of these outcomes or these results that we're developing? And it's more about the conversation, again, the human experience. Yeah. It's about like you and me dialoguing. People don't do this anymore. They just tweet or they text one another, and as a result, people's social skills, not their social media skills, but their social skills are diminishing. And so we don't resolve conflict, and as a result, when that happens, we end up compromising on the design solutions that we create in many cases.
So should you join a company that would like to be perceived as innovative and creative, you join this company and you notice that they are not creative at all, they just copy, they just look around for innovative stuff and they just want to do the same. So what would you do? What would be the 3 steps that you would take to build a creative atmosphere, creative environment for people to, not to copy, but to ask and to find answers?
Well, it's like I was saying in my talk, I think we need to be better at facilitating understanding, not telling people what to do. Okay. So basically allow people to have that experience, right? I think you need to learn from other people, all the people within the business that are involved in the decision-making process. What do they value? What are their processes? What are their goals and stresses? And I think finally, I think really it's about, I think you just need to take all of that information and provide opportunities for people to come together and share their ideas openly. It's not about, we have to have a meeting at 10 o'clock for an hour. It's about, why don't we get outside the office space? Let's go and meet over lunch. Let's go to a different area. Hell, it's a beautiful summer day. Let's go to a park and let's talk about these things. Shut off the technology and let's start sharing ideas. Because when you start breaking down those barriers and build those human relationships, I'm not saying you have to have a group hug with everyone in your office, but I am saying
why not try? Yeah.
But why not try? And why not work from the fact that we all need to build the trust and respect of our colleagues in order to get that conversation moving forward.
Okay, thank you very much, Jeff. I've got a small gift for you, just to remind you this talk that you had today, and maybe you could use it on your next lecture, just to illustrate designers that just copy, they just follow the others, and they don't think about the consequences of their actions. Okay. So I know that you've got a dog. It's quite big. It's Buddha, right?
Buddha. He's a Saint Bernard, 180 pounds. Yeah,
it's huge. So I thought that maybe something that will. It's an animal that rather copy and just follow than think and create.
Yes.
So this is for you from us.
Thank you very much. That's wonderful.
Thank you very much for a nice conversation.
Thank you, sir. Very much. Appreciate it. Cheers. Thank you.